Hello everyone and now welcome to a 2v2 matchup between hankk and Lubber versus DaRe and BlaST9Z. We have BlaST9Z spawning here as the blue night elf. Meanwhile, in the other neck of the woods with a different color background, we have DaRe spawning as the blue orc. They will be going up against, well, hankk, who is spawning as the orange orc here, and, well, Lubber spawning as the orange undead. Orange versus blue in this 1v1 matchup. What's going to be going down? Well, first, I probably am going to get confused. Normally, whenever I see a map like Hills Brad Creek, it's usually allies are split between left and right. This is more of a north and or north and south split. This is more of a, well, it's split along this diagonal, so not quite what I'm used to. Hopefully, I don't get too confused, especially since normally you see, like, at least the same tile set for your partner. Anyways, this is a 2v2 matchup, and, well, what are we going to be looking at, and how are things going to be, well, moving forward in this matchup here? A little bit of a freeze for some reason, as we are going into a Farseer and, well, a Keeper of the Grove. Great harassment from both of those heroes. Farseer and Keeper of the Grove able to do a lot of damage to the other side. One thing I will note, though, is that you seem to actually be closer to your opponent than you are to your partner. In order to get to your partner, let's take a look. Fog of War off here. We need to come back across here, head all the way across, go around the set of trees, and then that's only halfway as you keep on going up, and then you will finally get to your partner. Meanwhile, your opponent is only just almost a straight shot across. And that means that, well, we may see two 1v1 games going on at the same time, at least for the start. We are going to be looking at a Wisp now making its rounds out here. It is a delayed Tauren Chieftain. All right, getting up this Tauren Chieftain trained up at the 2-minute mark. Interesting strategy coming in from hankk. And this may be a double aura strategy where you use the, well, nope, this is Dreadlord. All right, I was assuming that it was going to be a Death Knight, but no, it is actually going to be a Dreadlord. And what we may be looking at instead is some sort of stun lock strategy between Sleep and Stomp. Meanwhile, all the way off already to the north here, we're going to see a little bit of damage. hankk already suffering a little bit of pressure here. Going to be trying to fight back here. Orc Burrow now going to go ahead and be repaired as well. Damage is starting to add up. Are we going to see some entangles? Yes, we are. Entangles already coming across as hankk taking a little bit of damage. Hi, Mikey Mike, how you doing? Repairs now coming back across here. Grunt now trying to join in on the fight. Tauren Chieftain still not yet out onto the battlefield as more headhunters are trying to get added in. Two entangles mean two very quick death of wow, two quick deaths as we still see an endurance aura first. Not sure how useful that is going to be, especially when you consider the fact that there is not that much of an army for them to attack that much more quickly. All right, Orc Burrow still have peon units there. Meanwhile, what is going down here? Dreadlord taking his time setting up an expansion by himself. Lubber being a little bit greedy, but this is, well, a team game. So if all of the focus is on your partner and your partner can actually hold himself, well, you can still come out ahead. The question is whether or not you can hold yourself in a situation like this, as we are looking at a proxy barracks coming in from DaRe. So DaRe getting up a second barracks off on the other side of the map as the Altar of Storms about to fall. All right, Altar of Storms about to fall here. There it goes. It gets taken down as hankk needs to figure out a way to try and, well, help his partner here. All right, Dreadlord has shown up. There goes an entangle onto that one ghoul there. Are we perhaps going to be looking at a Sleep? Endurance or units are moving slightly faster, but I think Stomp would have been significantly better, as we could be looking at an entangle there on that Dreadlord. Dreadlord, however, broken speed right there. Tauren Chieftain able to catch up some of that distance as we're looking at now those Spirit Wolves making their way back around. All right, Dreadlord does have a rather wide army, but some of those skeletal minions, one of those skeletal minions will be coming to an end pretty momentarily, as BlaST9Z is also getting up quad Ancient Protectors over here outside his opponent's base. That is absolutely huge. Lubber's main base has nothing to really prevent this at all. Coming back down, Spirit Wolf going to be making its way across here. Lubber coming back across here. And this is what I said earlier. You are actually closer to your opponent than you are your partner, as DaRe able to break free from what seemed like a 20-unit surround, as that Farseer are going to be taking a large amount of damage. All right, Headhunters could get taken out. There goes one Wolf right there trying to finish off some more units. Are we going to see another one? No, that is not going to get taken out, as we're now looking at Ancient Protectors making their way over. Huntresses now coming across here. Ziggurat trying to upgrade to that Nerubian tower. We see a tech to tier 2. This is quickly going to be reversed by Lubber, and most likely as Ancient Protectors are already making their way over and will be rooting themselves into position. Meanwhile, well, I guess if you have an expansion up and running, you have a little bit of an advantage, as you will be able to, well, do a little bit of a base race situation. DaRe actually in a little bit of trouble. His main base could be completely shut down here in just a moment. Carrion Swarm ripping through many of those peons there, and those peons could get taken down one at a time as well. All right, peons getting lost here. Orc Burrow trying to fire back some units. Dreadlord could be in a little bit of trouble. There goes another Carrion Swarm trying to rip through, as we see a Scroll of Town portal forcing this retreat now. All right, forcing the retreat now. He's going to teleport back home. But where is he going to really go? He's going to try to teleport here, only to see, well, Glaive Throwers and also Ancient Protectors already in position trying to walk on in. All right, coming back around, Dreadlord going to go ahead and heal back up. We are looking at another Ancient Protector being built off over here, as the Acolytes, well, as one Huntress is down across here. This Ancient Protector is going to be very well protected, as well. Scroll of Town portal now coming back in across the other side. Ancient Protectors need to be rooting, and rooting fast, and if they're not rooted, well, you can see quickly how fast they are taken down with no place to really go. However, 3 Ancient Protectors have been rooted down. A couple of Glaive Throwers already launching attacks as well, as we see the damage trying to add in. All right, one Glaive Thrower going to get taken out very easily. Another Glaive Thrower looks like it will get taken down very easily, as well as an Entangle goes down onto that, well, Dreadlord there. Keeper of the Grove going to get shut down very fast as well. All of those units. Shockwave now ripping through, getting in some damage across those units. Dreadlord does not have Vampiric Aura, has Carrion Swarm and Sleep. That is what we're looking at, as the Naga Sea Witch now joining in on the fight alongside that Farseer. All right, DaRe with 2 level 1 heroes. Meanwhile, the Shockwave of the Tauren Chieftain really doing a large amount of damage here, shutting down many of those Ancient Protectors, and 4 Ancient Protectors which normally is a very powerful tower attempt, completely shut down in this instance, as we are getting up a Glaive Thrower here. All right, Lubber's Dreadlord needs to escape, down to 61 hit points, down to 42, down to 25, and gonna be able to stay on Blight. How is this possible, as DaRe also trying to build up some more here? All right, Healing Salve. Well, that Dreadlord actually walked around a little bit too far, going to try to make its way back over. Is it going to be able to slip on through? Chain Lightning, and it's able to dodge one more attack before finally getting taken down. All right, Tauren Chieftain trying to protect all of these units. Huntresses are off over here. The Crypt may get taken down as well. Crypt Fiend trying to fight back as well, as the Nerubian Tower does not slow that Ancient Protector. Meanwhile, back off to the north, this Ancient Protector here dealing damage back to these Acolytes, as this one Ancient Protector slowly taking damage, perhaps not going to fall. All right, this Ancient Protector about to, well, looks like it is about to fall, finally going to be coming to an end. There you go, there's some Crypt Fiends. One Crypt Fiend trying to hold back an entire army inside his own base. Home field advantage doesn't account for that much when you have 3 heroes inside your base alongside some other additional towers. All right, DaRe now able to finish up this watchtower here. Pit Lord gonna come across here, perhaps Howl of Terror. No, Rain of Fire. Okay, Rain of Fire being used. Are we gonna see an entangle onto that Pit Lord there? Pit Lord trying to back away. More damage getting added in. Acolytes could be trying to repair once more, as we're looking at more damage coming raining down again. All right, a little bit of damage still coming across here. A little bit more repairs underway, as Acolytes need to be trained. Halls of the Dead did tech to tier 2, so that isn't another cold tower online and available. Meanwhile, Crypt Fiend should be trying to focus down those Huntresses or get some damage in somewhere. You can see that Ultra of Darkness dropping very quickly, could end up getting taken down. The Glaive Thrower coming in from the back and going to be able to get that last shot off there as well. Pit Lord now trying to retreat. Tauren Chieftain coming back over. Did we get a Scroll of Speed? No, Scroll of Speed was not activated onto that Pit Lord. as the Tauren Chieftain now tries to make its way over too. All right, couple of watchtowers coming back across here. Tauren Chieftain perhaps going to try to get in some nice shockwaves once more. Damage still adding back up as the units are retreating back again. Glaive Thrower does have very far range. More Acolytes getting trained up once more. Tauren Chieftain seeing that level 2 shockwave. Level 1 Pit Lord now trying to rush on in here. This crypt now down to 81 hit points as Rain of Fire now raining down in across multiple units. However, it looked as though, well, the Glaive Thrower was going to be able to survive, but that is no longer the case as, well, I believe some other follow-up attack was able to finish it off there. All right, Crypt down to 14 hit points. It is somehow still staying alive here, but the Pit Lord falls at level 1, and finally we see that Crypt getting taken out. No additional production buildings at all whatsoever. Tauren Chieftain actually stuck in a very tough spot. Going to go ahead and scroll Town Portal out of this sticky situation as we're looking at all of the units trying to back away. This base may end up being lost, as we're going to see, well, a transition back over here. We can see a crypt here, no Altar of Darkness. Repairing on this Nerubian tower may be needed, but Lubber and hankk are in trouble. We are sitting at tier 2, tier 2 here, but there is no Altar of Darkness, as the Acolytes are still trying to constantly repair this Halls of the Dead. More Acolytes should be trained, but I believe there just isn't enough gold, as the Glaive Thrower are going to get in that last hit there. Level 2 now on the Naga Sea Witch. Level 2 Farseer trying to get up to level 3, may be able to get there off of this Crypt Fiend. There it goes, as still more units are, well, trying to back away, trying to buy a little bit of time. What is the follow-up play here? Hankk is gonna try and hold on to this advantage. We are looking at a couple of Acolytes here. Perhaps a new Necropolis will be placed down off at that expansion location, and then, well, after all of this is said and done, we are still going to be even on bases. That Tauren Chieftain, if it can get to level 5, all of a sudden that Tauren Chieftain could deal a large amount of damage here, as that Pit Lord and that Tauren Chieftain need to retreat back once again. So far though, we are looking at double barracks with headhunters, no additional units. Well, headhunters trying to retreat back again. Tauren Chieftain may be able to throw down a shockwave across some of those units. No Howl of Terror. Tauren Chieftain trying to back away. Units, are they going to try and engage? There goes a shockwave across multiple units again, as Rain of Fire now coming back down. All right, Tauren Chieftain down to 66 mana, not going to be able to get any more, as the Tauren Chieftain using a Scroll of Speed, well, getting into position once again. All right, Tauren Chieftain down to 188 hit points after a couple of rounds of attack. Tauren Chieftain down, well, 4 experience away, as the Pit Lord does get to level 2, adding in Cleave to get in a little bit more damage. All right, that Tauren Chieftain, if it just did level up, it would be able to get another shockwave to finish down a couple of headhunters. Even a purge onto a spirit wolf would, or a dire wolf would be able to get that up and running again. All right, there goes a shockwave, gets up to level 4. More damage coming through as the Tauren Chieftain now looks to back up with that endurance aura. Faster attack speed, and, well, great positioning and zone of fire, or Rain of Fire trying to come across as the Tauren Chieftain trying to purge, trying to get away down to 84 hit points, and it looks like it will be able to escape at 45. All right, 45 hit points, able to retreat all the way back. Purge perhaps from some, well, spirit wolves, able to, well, stop some of that chasing, as the units need to, well, regroup once more. Huntress is going to end up finishing this off here. A Voodoo Lounge being built there. Necropolis getting added back in. Still no Altar of Darkness. All right, as the heals are coming back across, hankk, well, going to try and hold the team here. Peons trying to retreat back. Necropolis down to, well, Necropolis still good on hit points. Are we going to get some repairs on that Nerubian tower? For some reason, that Nerubian tower was allowed to stay at half hit points for so long. And, well, now this base is pretty much without any sort of protection. Bad news just getting worse for hankk and Lubber. As the Tauren Chieftain trying to heal back up and needs a potion of mana in addition to those clarity potions. The shockwaves of hankk is perhaps the one thing that can really allow hankk and Lubber to get back into this game. Meanwhile, the army of DaRe and Blasters is just that strong here. Are we going to perhaps be looking at Rain of Fire, Shockwave ripping on through, but not really getting that many damage, as the Pit Lord is somehow able to escape temporarily, being able to back up again. Tauren Chieftain now trying to back away. There goes another Shockwave, and that was a large amount of damage done across multiple units, allowing the Headhunters to pick off any unit, well, a bunch of red units all of a sudden. All right, Dreadlord's trying to get into that front. What is this Dreadlord doing? Running through here. Scroll of Town Portal, forcing the Scroll of Town Portal back onto that onto that Keeper of the Grove. And is this exactly what Lubber needed to be able to get back into this game, forcing a Scroll of Town Portal separation of the two armies, as the Tauren Chieftain still leading the charge here, and because of that Endurance Aura, able to go after those units pretty fast. However, the Farseer trying to chase after some of those units as well. There's that Rain of Fire, more units trying to back away, and while the Tauren Chieftain with that faster movement speed still could continue to lead that charge. Tauren Chieftain, however, down to 196 hit points, trying to regenerate as quickly as possible. Healing Salve is being used. Headhunter is going to get added in as well. Farseer going to perhaps get in some little damage on that Pit Lord as the units are retreating back. Yesterday's YouTube volume is so low. Are we talking about the game sounds? Because this is the same exact setup as it is right now, so let me know. BlaST9Z, you mean? Yeah, all right. So BlaST9Z. All right, Tauren Chieftain able to escape back at 38 hit points. Dreadlord, level 3. It looks as though it is Sleep and Carry-On. So BlaST9Z? 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 Yeah. Don't know how to pronounce everyone's name. All right, BlaST9Z, DaRe versus shooting 9mm. Oh, BlaST9Z. All right. So BlaST 9mm bullets. Anyways, Tauren Chieftain sitting at level 4. We're looking at a Dreadlord in here as well, and a Pit Lord sitting at level 2. And we are looking at a Naga Sea Witch and a Keeper of the Grove. There is a watchtower down across here. Main bases have, well, a little bit more than 9 minutes of mining left. And that is going to be absolutely key. How much mining is left? This early expansion, if Lubber is able to hold on to it, he will be the only one with an expansion in about 10 minutes. That is going to be the key, as the Tauren Chieftain sits at level 4. Pit Lord gets up to level 3. Dreadlord adding in a True Shot Aura as well, which can be very scary. A 10% damage bonus to all ranged units, which is pretty much everyone here. Maybe output of YouTube is versus Twitch is different. It shouldn't be. It should be recorded the same. I don't know. It should be recorded the same. Anyways, Pit Lord coming across here. Now Rain of Fire coming down across all of those peons here. Many of those peons could get taken out, and there it goes. A beautiful carry-on swarm ripping through all of those units there, as the burrows, well, trying to fight back now. All right. And we're looking at, well, multiple burrows just all in that position. Rain of Fire could come down perhaps across all of those burrows again, and then just well, shut that down in its tracks once more. Pit Lord, however, pretty low on mana, needs to back away. All right. Shamans and Berserkers coming together. No Bloodlust that I see. No, we do have Bloodlust. It has not been cast yet, as we're looking at the, well, Huntress is trying to dive on in. Trent's joining in on the battle here. We are Scroll of Town Portal. Scroll of Town Portal trying to quickly get away, and beautifully done, using that Staff of Teleportation to burn through a Scroll of Town Portal, and it looks like Lubber actually comes out ahead right there. Meanwhile, Tauren Chieftain is still lined up, ready for some interesting plays here. Are we going to perhaps get a Rain of Fire or something of that nature? As we can see, a Shockwave ripping through many of those units once more. A whole bunch of dead units are already pretty much in trouble as the Rain of Fire comes to an end. All right, continuing to attack. They have a Scroll of Speed, and this is going to continue to be a problem. There goes another Scroll of Town Portal. Tauren Chieftain, does it have any units back out? Yes, it does. Are they going to end up seeing some units? Yes, we do. Those units are able, and hit and run tactics all of a sudden by Lubber starting to add up to a good amount of damage. 23 supply over 30 compared to 50 over 51. We are getting up an expand or a base by DaRe here, mining from his opponent's base. So it is currently 3 bases to 2 right now, but somehow hankk and Lubber are still in this game, even after losing 1 base, and his opponents are now up a base. All right, Tauren Chieftain making its way through. Are we going to get a Shockwave going through? Yes, we do. Shockwave runs through the middle of all of those units. There's Rain of Fire coming down. That is not a good spot for a fight right here, but the choke point has been opened up quite a bit. All right, Tauren Chieftain going to line up perhaps another shot here. Carry-on swarm. Well, Berserkers with that Berserker Frenzy, as the Tauren Chieftain still in that frontline Lightning Shield. Are we going to perhaps see some more damage? There's level 5 on that Tauren Chieftain, being forced to retreat back here, down to 300 hit points, constantly in trouble. Scroll of Town Portal finally being used. as well. The Crypt Fiends do need to back away, as are we going to see a couple of, yes, a handful of units actually not close enough to get taken away by by that Scroll of Town portal. DaRe and BlaST9Z doing a great job. We're looking at 20 supply from the Night Elf. DaRe sitting at 51 over 82, actually in the worst possible spot. Not quite sure what BlaST9Z is looking to do right here, as he has a very low supply, and well, heavy taxation on DaRe right now, finally going into 49 supply as the peons, well, I don't know where they're going, but they are retreating back. All right, Berserkers, Shaman, Crypt Fiends, Tauren Chieftain sitting at level 5, Pit Lord just sitting outside of level 4. Could be getting to level 2 cleave here in just a second. That's what we're going to be looking for, as the Tauren Chieftain looking to get more mana still. All right, regenerating some of that precious mana, as the Dreadlord sitting at level 4. Perhaps if the Dreadlord can get to level 5, all of a sudden, Carrion Swarm coupled with Shockwave, coupled with Rain of Fire, that could be enough damage to really push you over the top here, as hankk really should be moving this Pit Lord onto Blight if he's just trying to heal up that Pit Lord. Doesn't see that just quite yet. Dreadlord does have a robe of Magi. That is going to be extra mana regeneration and extra mana on that Dreadlord overall. Not quite sure why the Dreadlord isn't using up that Clarity Potion, as the units will be pulled back right here again. All right, in comes the engagement. A little bit of fighting back and forth. Pit Lord and that Dreadlord in that frontline spot. Meanwhile, we're finally getting into creeping at the 20-minute mark, as BlaST9Z and DaRe doing the same thing. DaRe continuing this push back again. We're looking at DaRe, pushing strong, but deciding not to pick up that Tome of Strength. We see another base by BlaST9Z as well. So it is currently 2 bases, soon to be 1 base, going up against 2 here. And, well, I can't imagine how Blast or how Lubber and hankk are going to be able to get back into this unless they at least set up an expansion off here. They haven't really cleared out any additional gold mines, which could spell trouble for them in just a second. Tauren Chieftain does have a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, Potion of Mana. Did we see... Well, Dreadlord is sitting at level 5 with over 450 mana now, and with a maximum of 510. That could be enough. Nevermore, thank you for the subscription. Definitely appreciate it. Still trying to, well, improve my overall setup, and we'll see how this works as the Tauren Chieftain. The Tauren Chieftain retrained to Stomp. No, it's still at Shockwave, as we're going to be seeing this engagement here. There goes the Shockwave, ripping through many of those units. There's that Rain of Fire, and the units trying to back away here. Scroll of Speed already being used once more, as we see a couple of easy surrounds. And, well, there was a Carrion Swarm not really hitting that much. Another Shockwave going through, and a bunch of low hit point units, as the Carrion Swarm should be trying to rain down once again. Are these Berserkers going to actually come into a bad spot there? There's that Carrion Swarm, but not hitting the backline Berserkers, who were frenzied, as the Tauren Chieftain still out of mana. Are we going to perhaps be looking at a Shockwave here in just a second? All right, Dreadlord trying to back away down to 209 hit points. Tauren Chieftain does have line up another Shockwave, getting in a little bit more damage, but still not quite enough, as BlaST9Z does have a Priestess of the Moon now for that very powerful True Shot Aura. Fork Lightning trying to finish off a handful more units. Chain Lightning, however, finishing the job, as the units are now retreating back. All right, Dreadlord and Pit Lord, or Dreadlord, Pit Lord, and Tauren Chieftain being forced to retreat all the way back home. This is not what they were looking for. They were hoping to do substantially more damage here, as that main gold mine is about to finish mining. It is going to be 2 bases to 1 here, as hankk, what is this? hankk is actually building up a watchtower right next to his opponent's base. And, well, how quickly will it be finished? Or is, well, a ballistas or glaive thrower is already making its way in. Tauren Chieftain coming back around. True Shot Aura, a very big difference here. Pit Lord, it doesn't have a Clarity Potion for some strange reason. As we're looking at it, well, Lone Crypt Fiend needs to back away, perhaps get some damage onto those peons, and perhaps stop this mining from happening. All right, needs to get to this base, and if it can turn it back into, well, 1 base to 1 base, that may be enough. There is not that much really protecting this expansion here. as we're going to be looking at a carry-on swarm ripping through right there. All right, Peons trying to repair. Not going to be able to do that much. Taking down another one. And, well, this watchtower will get taken out alongside this base here. Berserkers going to finish off the rest of this base here. Shamans with Bloodlust. Where is that rest of the army going to come across here? And now, well, it looks like BlaST9Z and DaRe looking to put pressure on the main base of hankk. But this base isn't really worth saving. Oh, why did it zoom in and now I can't zoom back out? All right. All right. No, can't zoom back out anymore. All right. Everything just seems so much bigger. DaRe going to end up losing an Orc Burrow here. Great haul right there. Both of these are going to get taken down, and it is now one base to one base, at least for now, as a very smart call by hankk to say, you know what, this is NWS, not worth saving. And oh. All right. For some reason, I can't enter in chat either. All right. Yeah, trying to enter in the chat doesn't work either. All right. Anyways, coming back around. Let's see if I go negative. Nope. Yep. Doesn't do that. If I try to enter in a 1900, negative 1900, all of a sudden it just slows down the replay. All right. Coming back across, Priestess of the Moon, Keeper of the Grove, Huntress is now going to be joining in on the fight here, trying to put in that pressure. This may end up being that last base. No more mining possible going here. Meanwhile, this base is going to end up getting taken down. Tauren Chieftain and Pit Lord working together. Are we going to see a shockwave rip through? Yes. And it looked like two of those wisps ended up getting taken down, and we're going to see a little bit of cleave going back, lag. All right, as the Tauren Chieftain now finally going to be able to break free and break back here in just a moment. All right, couple of those units going to be out back here as we're a final stand fighting back across here. Pit Lord gets up to level 5. Are we going to see a rain of fire there? We should be looking at a rain of fire right there. Keeper of the Grove needs to get an entangle off onto that Pit Lord, as that Pit Lord, it could be a sign of trouble. Farseer now trying to back up here. That front line dealing or taking up a lot of damage, as the Pit Lord going to continue to rain of fire down again. Tauren Chieftain does have enough mana for a shockwave. Gets in a little bit of last minute damage as the Dreadlord comes in and calls in an Infernal. Level 6 on the Dreadlord. All of a sudden the Infernal picking off 2 additional units as the units are trying to chase back here. DaRe not trying to retreat. DaRe losing that level 4 Farseer was lost right there as we're looking at an engagement here. Meanwhile, Glaives Roar is down here. True Shot or Keeper of the Grove does end up getting the entangle off as the Pit Lord is currently using that Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. Oh, wow, another carry-on swarm ripping on through, and 3 Glaives Roar is taken down before the Scroll of Town Portal leads away. All right, that engagement over here at the Undead base, absolutely clutch by Lubber. They were able to play with home field advantage, properly fortified. And, well, getting that level 6 Dreadlord, calling down the Infernal, being able to use Carry-On Swarm to pick off more units. And that Infernal was actually a very big deal, stunning many of those Berserkers temporarily to allow them to get finished off. Dreadlord is already halfway to level 6 now. And Tauren Chieftain, well, he's at level 6, so we know what that means. Even if you knock him down, he's just going to get back up again. And this is a definite problem now for BlaST9Z and DaRe. BlaST9Z, how are they going to get back into this game? This is the question of the hour now. Infernal going to make its way over here. Well, get in some extra damage. Dreadlord perhaps just going to save up all of that mana. Still, as this, well, Tree of Life still attacking this, Tauren Chieftain. As we're looking, oh, there goes a carry-on swarm to finish off the remaining last wisps. Okay, 2 Obsidian statues coupled with 2 level 6 heroes and a level 5 Pit Lord. This may be enough for the the orange team, Lubber and hankk, who have been, well, pretty much on life support for so long to get back into this game. Tree of Ages has already moved it down across here. BlaST9Z trying to set up a new base, so it is still 1 base to 1 base right now. And Lubber's expansion, essentially, or only base left, only has 4 minutes of mining. Here we go, though. Pit Lord and Tauren Chieftain working together. They're going to see us. What is this? A Staff of Teleportation. Where is it going to go back? Try and get in a Scroll of Town Portal across all of those units. Dreadlord shows up to the party. Carry-on swarm ripping through, and it looks as though, no, the Goblin Zeppelin able to pick up some units. Some brilliant micro, as well as they're trying to go after those units. Is it going to end up getting taken down? down. One more shot, yes, and that is pretty much going to be the death of this, as the Pit Lord is, well, as the Dreadlord's going after all of those units. The Pit Lord now trying to retreat back. Dreadlord is still in a great spot here, going after the units, and all of these units were dizzied. All of these units were dizzied right here, so they're going to be extra slow as we're looking at the, well, Shaman coming back over, trying to purge down this one Dreadlord here. Dreadlord could be in trouble. Dreadlord down to 280 hit points. Is it going to try and scroll a Town Portal? Does it have anywhere to scroll a Town Portal to? Well, where is it going? Yeah, there it is. Going to that necropolis off to the north. Does have a Tomb of Relics back there. Where is it going to try and go to? It doesn't have the ability to buy a potion of healing. It's just going to try to hide back there. There's the Forked Lightning as Tauren coming in from DaRe. All right, Dreadlord has fallen at level 6. Meanwhile, the Pit Lord trying to head back here. Farseer shows up, is going to be able to finish off this Pit Lord, and what looked like an easy win with heroes, all of a sudden, DaRe and BlaST9Z come back in with Tauren Chieftain, well, trying to rip through, finish off some more units as the Obsidian statues, the Destroyers are going to take to the skies. There goes those units. There's some Devour magic. They're going to retreat. Tauren Chieftain going to be back out onto the field. 21 supply as the Tauren Chieftain is going to, yes, land down a shockwave. Where is it going to really go, though? Trying to break free and, well, having a difficult time all the while. All right, Tauren Chieftain down to 171 hit points. There it goes. Finally taken out, and this might be the end of it here. A purge onto the Destroyer from an orb of lightning from the Keeper of the Grove, stopping that Destroyer in its tracks. And a very well played by hankk and Lubber, but it looks like it may not be enough. All right, standing armies is pretty much going to be, well, everything right now, as well, these Spirit Wolves going to finish off, or try to finish off the remainder of these Acolytes. One Destroyer holding back the attack here. Meanwhile, what is this? Pit Lord is resurrected. Dreadlord is resurrected, trying to get a little bit of extra gold. There we see some, well, unsummoning of buildings to get a last bit of gold perhaps transferred back to your partner. But this is, well, slowly bleeding yourself to death, as all of these buildings are necessary to win. Meanwhile, there is another gold mine down here. All right, Acolyte going to end up getting caught out of, caught once again. Dreadlord just trying to regenerate a little bit more. What is going on here? As, well, Altar of Darkness, Necropolis, all of these buildings are slowly getting destroyed. And, well, we see one, what is this? One headhunter, one berserker hiding down there. Not quite sure what it's doing. And, well, the Tauren Chieftain is back out onto the field as well. All right. Pit Lord still alive. Tauren Chieftain currently back in play, having another 2 minutes until it can reincarnate again. That is going to be key. Keeper of the Grove and the Priestess of the Moon scouting for all of these units. Going to try and engage here. And here we are. Are we going to try and fight these units here? And there we go. Dreadlord is off over here. Does have enough for its Infernal. And this is going to be key. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability on the Tauren Chieftain. It may buy a couple of seconds. There goes a Carrion Swarm ripping through. No Infernal. Rain of Fire coming down, trying to get in that damage as the Taurens now making their way back over. All right, that Pit Lord pretty much pulverized in a split second, as the unit's still trying to retreat back. Dreadlord does not have enough for an Infernal. The Trents are just... And that is the GG coming back through. Tauren Chieftain was hoping to try and fight back through there, but no, Lubber does give the GG as well. hankk, well, winning in terms of overall score, but DaRe and BlaST9Z really coming out ahead. Overall score difference only about, what, only 4,000 total point difference between these two teams. A lot of fun this game was, and sometimes, like Yoda, I speak. But yeah, a lot of fun back and forth. It looked like hankk and Lubber were down for the count. They were able to battle their way back through, but ended up losing in the end, as hankk and Lubber just was not expecting the transition into Taurens. And that transition into Taurens really just changed everything, as the Headhunters, the Headhunters and the Crypt Fiends, all of that were just taking so much pulverized damage, normal damage, that they simply fell over. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.